Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Identity Insights by Indicio. I'm your host, Tim Spring, and today I'm joined by Indicio CTO Ken Ebert and VP of Business Development James Schulte. And they're here to discuss the ins and outs of mobile driver's licenses today. Thank you both for taking the time to speak with me. For those unfamiliar, would you be able to give us a brief summary of what exactly a mobile driver's license is?
Sure. So it's the MDL, also known as the ISO 18013-5 MDL. That's a long, fancy way of saying the mobile driver's license specification. It's a very specific data format that is from the International Organization of Standards, so ISO. And this is a standard that essentially outlines the technical aspects of the digital presentation of a driver's license. ISO has also set the standards for things like digital driver's licenses. So, as things move digital, this is a way of having a driver's license digital as well.
So I would say the mobile driver's license specification consists of basically three interesting parts. What are the data fields? Excuse me. What are the data fields that need to be, or attributes that are contained in the schema of the data? My name, my driver's license number, my birthday, whatever. Those are the schema and attribute definitions that defines what data will be in the driver's license to make it useful and interoperable among all the different states or organizations that use it. The second part is how the data is represented. That's the signature that goes around it, the container and the signature that are used to hold and store the data in a way that is both secure and privacy preserving and tamper proof. And so the cryptography helps define some of that. And the third aspect of the mobile driver's license is how do you communicate that data? If somebody just comes and looks at my phone, that's a visual check on things of not very secure, not very reliable. And then there's methodologies for communicating that electronically. Examples of that are the Bluetooth Low Energy BLE or NFC or Wi-Fi. But the spec is focused on communications protocols that are relatively focused on in-person interactions. And so those are the three aspects. What's the data? How is it stored and protected and made privacy preserving? And then how is it communicated in a secure manner?
So, in practice, right, it's just a virtual representation of your driver's license. Is that correct? Like that's what this schema really just defines and sets out for people?
It's a digital representation. So it can be the real deal on your mobile phone. And it's a good way to electronically have the data in a verifiable form that can be shared with other people who need to see it.
All right, perfect. So why would we want that, right? What benefits is that over your regular driver's license that most people already have?
I would say to begin, there could be a convenience factor from it. If you forget your wallet with your physical license, having it on your phone there and ready to present could be really convenient. I think it could also, prevent a lot of human errors that could happen during, the manual intake of details when, for example, when a physical license needs to be presented. There's also, potentially the reduction of using expired or invalid driver's license information because the MDL spec has that cryptographic authentication aspect to it. I'd say those are some of the benefits, but for me personally, I think having it on a device to use would be great.
So James is kind of focused on the personal aspects of why one might want to have that. From an organizational standpoint, from the relying party's standpoint, there's also some benefits to having it in an electronic form. One of the things that comes top of mind is that they can immediately verify its authenticity. They can look at the signature of the data that's contained in the mobile driver's license and know that it's accurate and hasn't been tampered with. Fraud reduction, fake printed driver's licenses can be had for about $15 on the web from whatever state you want, and they're decent quality of trying to fool people. And so having a way to, without um, impinging on the privacy of the person holding the driver's license, to verify that it's legitimate is a good idea for the businesses and government agencies that need to rely on that data. So there's some benefits to the relying party as well.
All right, sounds good. So all this, verifiable data and privacy preserving things sounds a lot like verifiable credentials, which I know Indicio handles a lot. Are these verifiable credentials? Are they something similar? Could you go into that a little bit?
So the term verifiable credential is often explicitly referring to the digital credentials that follow the W3C verifiable credential data model. There are some that group MDL into the verifiable credential family, but it's very specific to the digital presentation of a driver's license. Whereas a verifiable credential is you could say a more flexible, more interoperable standard that can be used for documents of all types. That I would say that's the biggest differentiator. The similarities I would say come in the sense that there's an issuer, a trusted source. There's encrypted data, and there's also relying parties that can verify that data without necessarily calling back to the issuer of the information. But in terms of usage and privacy preservation, there are some nuanced differences between the two. But I'm curious to hear Ken's take on if MDL is a verifiable credential. That's a great question.
So it doesn't exactly follow the typical model, and there's some drawbacks to that because of the lack of interoperability. If it were the MDL spec were to be enhanced to allow it to be stored as a verifiable credential, then the interoperability and the number of verifiers who could accept any type of verifiable credential, including an MDL, would be increased. Its utility would be improved, and I think it would be a better outcome for all parties concerned, because then the data would be more readily shareable and controlled by the end user without having to have a unique method for doing it for MDL and a different method for everything else.
Okay, interesting. So I'm curious, right, because both of you deal with customers quite a bit. Have they been interested in MDLs? What have we been hearing in terms of adoption of the mobile driver's license?
Yeah. So there's definitely growing interest as adoption, moves forward. Here in the States, we have something like 14 states that are actively using it. There are 10 other states where it is currently in progress. And then there's a slew of other states where it's legally recognized, but not yet in the works. So it's growing. And then over in the EU, obviously with the European Commission's passing of the second edition of the Electronic Identification, Authentication, and Trust Services, or EIDAS 2.0. The MDL format, data format, is included as one of the means of electronic, digital identity presentation and authentication, as well as the verifiable credential format. So there are governments that are using it. It's in production in places. It's in the wild. So there's interest in being verifiers of that information or participating in those ecosystems where a trusted digital ID can provide efficiencies, whether that's onboarding, age verification, proving that the person that you're dealing with, is who they say they are, those types of things. So the big question that our customers have is, as we're building out our verifiable credential ecosystem, what type of credentials do we need to support? And what we often come back to is that there's not going to be any one-size-fits-all credential. What you need to have is support for the leading credentials and the credentials that you would need specifically in your use cases. One of the challenges with the MDL specifically is that, at the end of the day, an MDL is proof that you can operate a motor vehicle in a certain, jurisdiction, which that's a powerful form of identity, but that excludes certain demographics who don't have that license. There's other documents like passports or national ID cards, obviously. So again, it really depends on your audience. It depends on your customers and what they need, your end users, and what forms of ID that you would need to support.
So my particular state, here's my MDL right here. on my phone has had this for a fairly short period of time, but the acceptance rate of the verifiers has not reached critical mass yet. And so getting verification methods into the hands of all of the verifiers who want to use them and have them be properly trained and adopt this, I think is key to success. I think it would accelerate the adoption if it were to be compatible with a true verifiable credential and be more universally interoperable. That would assist in making it more readily consumed. I think that there's an education part of this for the general public to see the benefits, and the more verifiers there are, the more benefit there will be. Right now, my physical driver's license is very well recognized and understood, so it's a very common practice to request or look at my physical driver's license. But I think it will improve the user experience as more people move to mobile driver's license. It will improve the reliability of the data, reduce fraud, and I think a great benefit overall. So I'm in favor of greater adoption of mobile driver's licenses because it gives more options to people. The technology for a driver's license is very similar to an ID card for most states. So it should be mobile driver's license might benefit from having a parallel track for other types of identity, and then bringing that into the family of verifiable credentials could assist with that process to make it a little bit more generally applicable to the populace instead of just the drivers.
All right. Yeah, absolutely. Those are some great points, Ken. I definitely appreciate that you have that firsthand experience with it to bring to us. So, particularly from that firsthand experience, obviously increasing the amount of people with verifiers would be a great, something to know when building a system. But to people that are looking to, build out their mobile driver's licenses systems or want to be interoperable with it, what advice would you really give to those people as it is still continuing to grow?
In the short term, there's a couple of things that can be done to improve usability of it. One is just adopt the standard as it is right now and build in either mobile apps or other types of apps that are able to interact, whether in the cloud or on the network or in person, to be able to accept the data from that. Another strategy is derivative credentials, where you take the MDL and derive it into a verifiable credential that can be more readily exchanged. So there's a number of techniques that can be done to make use of the data that's in the MDL and make it more useful. But I see its application in travel. I see it in finance. I see a large number of places where this data can be useful and is better secured by a digital representation than my plastic card.
Well, we are coming to the end of our time here today. For someone that would want to learn a bit more about mobile driver's licenses, what would you suggest they do? Where would you suggest they go?
Yeah, come talk to us. We'd be happy to set up a workshop with you and your team to talk through your use case, talk through the different roles in your ecosystem, what type of credentials would benefit the most, what value you're looking to derive from using verifiable credentials or MDL, and we can help you get started on an architecture of your solution, and get you to something that you're ready to release to the public as part of your platform. So yeah, we're always happy to talk.
I think that the future has more digital credentials involved, verifiable credentials in particular. I think that get involved, find out what their strengths and limitations are so that you're better able to take advantage of the benefits that are there and mitigate risk.
Sounds good. Well, that is about our time for today. Thank you again to you and Ken and James for joining us. If you at home are interested in learning more about decentralized identity and verifiable credential technology, please be sure to subscribe to the channel. We'll continue to bring you some more educational content. And if you have any questions or specific topics that you'd like for us to cover, go ahead and leave a comment below and we'll be sure to read and address them. Thank you all for watching.